As we kind of look back on your careers to date and the different types of companies that you've worked in, different size orgs, different industries, how has the role and the expectation of product management changed or evolved? Raz, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so it's interesting. When I first started, it was sort of an offshoot of project management. There was a lot of parallels with project management as a discipline. However, project management didn't always answer the kinds of questions that business needed answered or that engineering needed answered, and there had to be somebody in there to connect those dots. One executive leader I worked with called it the connective tissue that brings the bones and the muscles together, to use a high school biology metaphor. And that's really kind of where product seems to have its really sweet spot, right? It's those pieces that need to be connected to make the right decisions throughout an organization. So I've seen it evolve from project management, but now it's got these wonderful offshoots of product managers with a focus on data, right? Product management with a focus on operations, right? That's a new focus area. And then with additional verticals and disciplines, right? You take product management, you apply it to a specific industry, and you get these really subgenres of product that are really unique and interesting and combine skill sets that aren't necessarily taught traditionally. And so I'll say that some of the skill sets that I've seen really take off in product center around like the liberal arts disciplines, right? The ability to mingle and mix different thought areas into creative new solutions. And I think that's what product managers are largely counted on for, to do that think work for the organization. Yeah.
I think to piggyback on your perspective and your experience, yeah, project management definitely was kind of it. Back then, for me, we were more of a waterfall fintech company. And I mean, nobody truly knew there was a product manager, right? Back then, to us, product manager was more somebody dealing with like a manufacturing company and they owned a tangible product. Software wasn't truly a thing yet where there was any certification. A lot of people didn't even have unlimited internet. Computers were very expensive too. So as I grew from my perspective, there was the concept of the IT business analyst, and I think the military had a lot to do with it. And as I grew, right, that IT business analyst would work with like marketing e-specialists, right? They threw that E right at the beginning when commerce became this e-commerce, right? And the eBays of the world, which Tijana was here because she could talk so much about, you know, the growth from her eBay experience. But it truly was waterfall. I think my first experience with Agile was mostly on FedEx. They were doing something more fragile. They were starting off, you know, the idea and the concept that you needed to have a requirements document, work with a UX agency, right, into wireframes. Back then they were chicken scratches. We didn't have the tools for prototyping we have today. It was like, here's a PowerPoint with a PDF kind of looking thing with some screens, right? It wasn't a Figma or an Adobe XD. And then I saw it grow. Like there was a need. You know, Mike Kahn came out and said, hey, we got to standardize something here. I think I got something good going, right, from the 80s. So I'm going to go try it out and tried out this certification. I was one of the first down in the Austin, you know, class, and we were very few, but that was like the first product ownership kind of certification that was out there. The concept of Scrum was introduced. Then it was Scrum versus Kanban, but I still want to plan everything out ahead as a waterfall. And I've seen it evolve. Like you go into a product management certification from it, for example, but they're still using Mike Cohn's kind of preamble into Agile story writing, into, you know, there's so much in the growth of being a product manager. To Raz's point, it goes into now product ops, but there is program manager. There is still an IT project manager that is needed. There is still the business analyst, system analyst, tech product manager. there's so many variances right now into being a product that, you know, talking with Amazon is like, okay, they got like 5 different roles in product management, and each one has a very unique and very specific role that if you have been in the industry, you can tell it apart. But if you're new to it, it's kind of hard, and it can get very confusing.
And that probably changes a lot based on the company size as well. So if you're at an earlier stage, it's kind of product manager team of 1 that wears every single hat versus that's
where I was going to go next. Right? Yeah,
and there's that not so identifiable line between product management and product design. Like I have peers who've been product designers for 20 years, and the question was, at what point did you realize that you were a product designer? You know what I'm saying? And we can't separate the design from the functional requirement, and you can't separate the entire product from it. So there's still this blurriness between these 2 roles, right? And it's really hard. And to your point, depending on the size of the company, is where you say, okay, who takes on what, and do you go together and gather feedback? Do you humble yourself enough that you can trust that your partner can gather all of that information and you can come together and still own together the process? There's so much space to grow in there.
Yeah, I think company size is a really key element, especially as you try to grow your career and develop your skills. And precisely targeting the right size, I think, is incredibly meaningful. Of course, the smaller the organization, the more you're going to do and the more you're going to be exposed to different things. But in larger organizations, you're going to find frustrations where you feel like this is an area you can contribute in, but obviously there's a delineation there. You have to obey within the structure of the organization. You have to hand off that work. And so knowing what you're looking for is also incredibly important. I've worked my way up the ladder from small to large and then back down from large to small. And I've experienced it sort of in these different ways. And yeah, for my preference, I like the smaller organizations with a little bit more ambiguity and a little bit more hats, just because there's a lot more growth there and a lot of opportunities to be tactical and impactful. There you go. And that is fun. That's the fun part for me. I'm a builder, and I enjoy building and putting things in people's hands to use and making an impact in their lives. And to see that cycle go directly, really quickly, is really fulfilling. I think as a product person, there's a little bit of builder in everyone.